What happens if Evergrande defaults? 3 scenarios explained. I'm sure most of you have heard of Evergrande by now. The word Evergrande itself is one of the trending words on Google Trends. Seriously though, what is Evergrande? Evergrande Real Estate, or Hengda Group in Chinese, owns more than 1,300 building projects in more than 280 cities across China. Founded by the former Chinese steel executive Xu Jin in southern China in 1996, it's now China's second biggest property developer by sales. Evergrande reportedly owes money to around 171 domestic banks and 121 other financial firms. If Evergrande defaults, banks and other lenders may be forced to lend less. Now, Evergrande is teetering on the edge of financial collapse, weighing down by an $88.5 billion debt burden and total liabilities in excess of $300 billion. The company has hired financial advisors, pointing to a likely restructuring, and the Chinese government is telling local officials to prepare for its potential downfall. Evergrande was expected to make $83.5 million in coupon payments on September 23 on dollar bonds with a face value of $2.03 billion. As recently as June, the company had emphasized that it had never missed a bond payment since its founding in 1996. An Evergrande default and its effect on China's banking sector presents a potential systemic risk to China's financial system, since approximately 41% of the banking system's assets were either directly or indirectly associated with the property sector as of end 2020. The company has retained Houlihan Lokey and Admiralty Harbour Capital as financial advisors to assess its capital structure and explore solutions to the liquidity crunch, warning that failure to roll over payments may lead to cross-default under the group's existing financial arrangements. We'll have a look at the 3 potential scenarios in case of Evergrande's default. Before we get into it, just wanted to ask you to subscribe to our channel if you're interested in similar topics. Please like, share and leave a comment or ask a question. What happens to Chinese GDP and Chinese economy if China faces more property sector defaults? Real estate investment has averaged 13.5% of Chinese GDP for the past 5 years, according to Fitch estimates, 3 times the level in the United States economy. Adding in construction and allied sectors, the number doubles, according to a study published by the Massachusetts-based National Bureau of Economic Research in August 2020. Real estate companies made up around 30% of first half's bond defaults. Banks and prime brokers are no longer accepting as collateral debt issued by some highly indebted developers. China Minsheng Bank had the biggest exposure to Evergrande. A property sector default could have wide consequences. It could damage consumer confidence if people were to lose deposits for homes that have not yet been completed, or if it crippled suppliers and contractors who are big employers. This in turn could amplify defaults across the banking sector. What is China doing to prevent the future housing-related issues? China's President Xi Jinping is trying to tone down the nation's obsession with property and has said housing is for living, not for speculation. In recent months, authorities have targeted everything from mortgage approvals and banks' exposure to housing to rental growth and land prices to gain more control over the market. They have also imposed strict guidelines on real estate company leverage under the 3 red lines policy, with those breaching limits banned from borrowing more. So, what happens if Evergrande defaults? Here are the 3 scenarios. A likely scenario. Here's what strategist Joachim Klement from broker Liberum says. Given the large amount of debt issued by Evergrande, fears about a spread of the crisis to other property developers in China and eventually the financial system in the country are justifiable. However, the Chinese government and the People's Bank of China will likely to follow the template of the long-term capital management LTCM hedge fund in 1998, which would result in China Evergrande being allowed to collapse with the most profitable parts of its business bought up by rivals and the debt underwritten by either the People's Bank of China directly or by a consortium of Chinese commercial banks with the help of a liquidity injection. In this base case, the collapse of China Evergrande should merely lead to short-term setbacks in stock markets, but not a lasting effect throughout 2022. An adverse scenario with a disorderly default of Evergrande, but its debts are guaranteed to prevent a financial crisis. The analysts would envisage local GDP growth declining 4% 2%, and the shock to developed countries would be in the order of 1 to 1.5%, and to the United States in the order of 0.5 to 0.6%. The price of oil and other commodities would be most affected, with oil prices expected to drop by more than 30% and prices for iron ore, aluminium and copper to possibly drop even more. In a severely adverse scenario, a disorderly default of Evergrande's debt and with no bailout for the bondholders, we would expect the default of at least one major international linked bank or insurance company, creating international contagion through financial linkages, and 8% decline in Chinese GDP, and a similar shock as the US and Western Europe did during the global financial crisis of 2008. We're going to end the video with this grim scenario. That's about it. Comment below if you would like to share your opinion on the subject. Please like, share and comment. Till next time, bye.